I've lived in New Jersey my entire life, and I know lots of interesting people. Artists, musicians, actors, business owners, and politicians. So my goal is to introduce some of the most interesting people who have ties to New Jersey. Either they live here, they work here, they went to school here, whatever tie I can think of. Many of these people are not well known even in New Jersey, but I'm going to change that because I'm Lucille Losapio, and this is the best of Not So Famous in New Jersey. Virtually everyone that I've interviewed on this podcast has been someone that I've known. Cody McCorry, who I am speaking with today, is no exception. I've known him literally his entire life, and I've seen him grow from a kid mildly interested in music to someone who has made it his life. He is a musician and a composer. He's a bassist primarily, but he does have the distinction of playing the handsaw, an instrument that you've probably never heard played in public. Cody is interesting not just because of the unique instrument that he occasionally plays, but also because, in my mind, he's sort of a Renaissance man because he doesn't limit himself in the types or the genres of music he plays. Cody, let's start talking about Frank Zappa.
Oh, okay.
Because obviously he's one of your inspirations.
He is.
He was a very talented musician and arranger and jumped successfully from rock to jazz to classical, released more than 50 albums, and some of his work was even performed by the London Symphony Orchestra. So he was able to attract some of the world's best musicians. What specifically drew you to him?
Probably just that. His reckless genre bending, his unique style of composition, which does not really relate to any specific academic study. It's very unusual and very much just him because he wasn't trained classically or anything like that. He just did independent study. And just like you're saying, he gathered so many amazing musicians that went on to do other things, like Adrian Blue, who was his guitar player, who went to play with Bowie and Talking Heads and all these other great bands.
But I wonder if the misogyny and the homophobia of his lyrics bothers you.
Yeah.
How do you defend titles like Keep It Greasy or Titties and Beer?
Oh, there's worse ones than that. Yeah, man, Bobby Brown Goes Down is a really brutal song lyrically. And I think at the end of the day, when you get to know Frank and you look into his politics, you realize that that's not his message. His message is satire and absurdity. Nowadays, I don't think any of that music would fly. Absolutely not. And maybe did he take advantage of people's willingness to listen to misogynistic lyrics? Probably, and that's probably immoral. But it was, at the end of the day, satire. He wasn't promoting misogyny. Maybe at some level with the groupie culture, he was living it. But yeah, it's a really hard question, and I don't have an excuse for it. I'm not going to try to defend the guy, other than I will say that it was satire and humor for the most part.
Let me ask you, I've been interviewing people that I know, and of course I've known you for a long time, but you fall into a different category because you're a lot younger. Tell us how old you are.
28.
28,
Yeah.
wow. So let's talk about the slow death of live music. Because even before COVID, there were so many fewer venues for live groups to play in. When you did gig prior to this lockdown, were you doing original music?
I was. That was obviously not where the money was until I had joined a band from farther north called Thank You Scientist. And they are doing very well with their original music and touring. And I'm lucky to be in that band.
How many different bands are you in?
I would say I'm in 4 bands that I would call my band. Thank You Scientist, We Used to Cut the Grass, Karmic Juggernaut, and Homo Sapiens. All of which are sort of diverse, bizarre, kind of progressive rock. But I actively write music for those bands.
Do you find it difficult to find venues that are willing to book you knowing that your music might not be recognizable?
Oh yeah, progressive rock is not the easiest sell, for sure. It depends though, because some venues like the Saint and places like that are looking for things that are out of left field because that's what they want. They don't want the usual thing.
You started a long time ago as a drummer, and then you eventually became a bassist.
You might be the only person on earth who even knows that. Yeah, Gary Dates taught me how to hold a pair of drumsticks, and that might be maybe my earliest like musical memory.
But you play other instruments. Most interestingly, the saw.
Yeah, I do play the handsaw.
Did you see someone else or hear someone else playing the saw and then decided you wanted to try it, or did you just come up with this?
I did. I saw it in a movie called Delicatessen, which is a French horror movie, which is really good. And then the next day I went to the hardware store and I was like, why not me?
Let's talk about your influences. I've been talking to musicians who play rock, fusion jazz, Motown, R&B, blues. What are the genres that you play and what influenced you to get into those?
That's tough. I think I jump around a lot. As far as like regular side gigs, I do a lot of jazz, traditional jazz, modern jazz, fusion, whatever. I play upright bass too. Jazz was really like my earliest study in music as far as like learning music theory and stuff like that. Otherwise, it's anything. It's rock. I play country gigs. There's no genre of music that I would turn down or not do if someone hired me to do it.
Let's talk about touring, which is what practically every musician says they want to do.
The travel element is great. A lot of people think touring is like a vacation or something like that. It's really not. It's hard work. And like seeing the country is strange because like you end up seeing how homogenous the country is in one aspect where like when we're in the bandwagon, which is like a small tour bus, we'll stay at Walmart like every night. So like you've crossed the country, you're in a completely different place, but you wake up seeing the same thing every day, which is some variation on a Walmart parking lot, which only changes so much. And then obviously the political landscape changes a lot. That's really where you realize how different the country is from one place to another.
You've been a part of the fusion jazz group Ice Nine, which is an instrumental band that my husband Gary formed with Tim Boyce.
Right.
Now, they're old enough to be your father.
It's true.
Tell me a little bit about the experience of playing with men who are so much older than you and so much more experienced. Do you find it intimidating, or do you find it more of a learning experience?
It's really no different. I don't think I feel any differently about it than playing with people my own age. I mean, it's definitely a learning experience as far as like hearing stories and learning different jazz theory things that maybe I wasn't aware of. But mostly it's just like playing with people my own age. It's almost like age doesn't factor into it at all.
Yeah. So virtually every musician wants to make a living at their craft. And the fact that you've been able to tour makes you kind of a role model, because a lot of musicians never get that opportunity. Is your musical career giving you a living wage? Can you live on the money that you make as a musician?
I will say up until this year, it was. And it was getting better and better every year with Thank You Scientist. That band's definitely on the way up. We've done like 10 national tours, I think, at this point. And on the road, with merch sales and everything, we're doing pretty well. But obviously, the pandemic has pretty much grinded all that to a halt. So we're all concerned about what's coming next. But if we can get back to work, then I think things will be fine.
Even after coronavirus, musicians really can't sell their music anymore, since people now think that they should get music for free.
Right.
And that's what they expect. How can a musician make money other than by gigging?
I think it's probably more complicated now than it used to be. There's definitely no money in album sales unless like you have a really dedicated fan base that wants to buy your physical records directly from you and you don't have a bad record deal or something like that. It's kind of a minefield, honestly. It's very probable that you'll run into a bad record deal where even if you do sell lots of physical records, you're not going to get a good percentage of it or something like that.
Yeah.
But also the desire for physical records is almost gone in a lot of ways.
So what is your experience dealing with a record label?
Very poor. I don't think they're necessary at all anymore. I think with the tools that we have between easy digital distribution and recording yourself and stuff like that business model of needing the label to like fund your recording session and do all your PR or whatever they want to do or whatever the deal is, I think that's just outdated.
Yeah. Do you think that your approach to music now as a career is different than it was in earlier generations? So, like, for example, nobody in the 1980s had social media to promote themselves.
Right.
And the labels controlled the industry.
Right. In some ways it's better, in some ways it's a lot more pressure. At some level, it's cool because you have so much control and all these tools at your disposal, and that's awesome. On the other hand, it's like you're expected to do everything. You're your own promoter, you're recording yourself, you're booking the shows, you're doing everything. And then like by the time you handled all that stuff, it's like there's no time left to write and rehearse music, which is really all you want to do in the first place. So at that level, like having some kind of management or people to help you out with that probably makes sense. But if if you have the hustle and you can do all that stuff, then that's when you're really in the best position to make money.
So if you weren't a musician, if you couldn't be a musician, what could you see yourself doing?
That's a good question. If I wasn't a musician, I'd probably do some kind of public service, something that just helps people, I would think. Or maybe like animals, I don't know. That's like a really bland response. So you can tell I haven't put a whole lot of thought into that.
Yeah, well, you're focused on what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I guess so.
A lot of musicians get so much pushback from their parents or their partners because it is hard to make a living as any kind of an artist, especially a musician. But you come from a family that is really supportive of the arts. Your father's a musician, your mother is an artist, your sister is an actor/producer. So both you and your sister are now currently pursuing careers in the arts.
Right, and Diana's doing mostly writing now, and she is selling a lot of things, and she's doing it really well. I'm lucky to have grown up in a family that supports that.
Does the fact that Diana took that route first as an actor and now a writer, producer, did that have an impact on you?
I don't know. I think we kind of both decided to get into what we were going to get into at the same time. Yeah, as far as her going off to school to study acting, I didn't want to go to college at all. I kind of had to be pushed to go into music school, and then I dropped out anyway because it didn't seem necessary or worthwhile. And a lot of these things that you would learn in school, you can just learn through independent study, kind of like the way Frank Zappa did. Learning about his story and the way he put his band together made me just want to do that.
Does the support of your parents make you different from most of your contemporaries?
I don't think so. Most of the kids my age, I don't know why I call them kids now that we're in our late 20s, but their parents are supportive for the most part. And I will say that, like, we're making a living wage, but a lot of us do still live at home.
When I married Gary, of course he was a musician, what I saw happening with a lot of other musicians' wives was once they got married, and especially once they had a kid, now you have to get a real job.
Yeah.
And my attitude was always, you married a musician.
You kind of knew what you're getting into.
Right. So, like, if you didn't want to marry a musician, you shouldn't have married a musician.
Right. It's tough. Yeah, the touring makes it difficult in the, separation. But obviously that's where a lot of the money is, too. Like, if you can play 6 or 7 nights a week and, bring home money, then that makes all the difference in the world.
Other than Frank Zappa, are there other musicians who have really influenced you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Igor Stravinsky, which kind of ties into Zappa because he was Zappa's primary influence. Growing up, I listened to a lot of Medeski, Martin, and Wood, which is just an amazing trio. A lot of jazz composers, Wayne Shorter, Sun Ra, all kinds of stuff really, but a lot of classical and jazz stuff, I would say, outside of Frank.
Yeah, one genre that a lot of people have a problem with is rap. Have you ever been a rap fan?
Yeah, no, I am, for sure. It's not my primary genre that I listen to, but there's a lot of amazing rap artists. Like, I think, obviously, Kendrick Lamar is, like, at the forefront of it right now. But there's a lot of great stuff out there. It's a little confusing to me that so many people have a problem with it, honestly.
Well, I know some people have said that they feel that it's not really, there's no melody,
right.
So it's really just rhythmic poetry.
Right, but a lot of those people aren't musicologists. So, like, who's to say what makes music music? If it makes you feel something and it involves sound, then I think that's probably enough.
Now, I interviewed another bass player. I usually don't like to ask the same questions, but I'm going to ask you the same thing that I asked him. Drummers and bass players will tell you that that's the backbone of any band, the rhythm section. What's your feel on that?
It's definitely true. I mean, I think even through music history, like, back in the medieval and Baroque times, all music was off of the bass line. The bass line was like the only written part. They would just double that. It was called basso continuo, and you would just play that, and that was the only written part. Everything else could be improvised. Even the melody could be improvised a lot of the times. So that's always been the fundamental thing. And as far as rap music today, like, that's all about drums and bass. That's like 90% of the composition is your bass line and the whatever drum thing is happening.
Now, I don't have any education in music theory. Would having some knowledge on that help me or give me a deeper understanding of what I'm listening to?
I don't think the mathematical element of music theory would be useful unless you're trying to actually put something together musically. But music history, you can study without any knowledge of music theory. And the way music has evolved, you can definitely look at that. And that's, like, super interesting.
I've always wanted to play the violin, so I bought one a couple of years ago. And I was trying to teach myself using YouTube videos, but first of all, it takes, so every time I would have to tune it.
Yeah, tuning a violin's not easy.
Oh, no. Teaching myself was not going to be that easy.
It's tough. I don't know if that's an instrument you can really teach yourself. I think you need an instructor because it's so much like posturing and like technique.
Do you play the violin?
I play upright bass, which you can play arco, which is the biggest member of the violin family.
Yeah.
I play a member of the violin family, but I don't play violin.
I play a member, but I think I killed it. So here's my last question. If somebody told you that they were planning to make a career out of being a musician, two parts, which instrument would you encourage them to play, and what other advice would you give them?
As far as what instrument you want to play, I think that's totally dependent on the person. But also, if their goal is to write music and write music for other people, I would suggest piano, because that's just the best instrument to write from. And I'd probably suggest piano as the first instrument to approach anyway, just because like it relates to everything, and all of Western music is kind of built from that instrument.
What kind of advice would you give them about becoming a musician as a career?
I don't know. Being that I have been able to get a living wage out of it until now is great, but I've fought tooth and nail every step of the way, and it has been like extremely difficult. I don't know if I'm in a position to really be giving advice about that, and being that it's still like such an active struggle for me.
Cody, thanks so much for coming today and speaking with me. Really different insight into music than I've heard before.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Where else can you hear scintillating conversations with interesting people with ties to New Jersey except for here? You can't, and that's why you should subscribe and listen to every episode. I'm Lucille Osapio, and this is the best of Not So Famous in New Jersey.